Hey everybody, it is a Monday night here in the Mile High City, and I am back with another deck tech. Tonight we're going to be talking about Darien, King of Kjeldor, and this guy is actually the first commander deck I ever put together, kind of back when I returned to Magic. This guy has been revised probably 3 times now. He absolutely, just to be quite honestly, he kind of sucks. He's probably one of my worst decks. That was probably up until this last weekend when I just unleashed kind of the latest version of this deck on my play group, and it's doing a lot better. So a lot of work has gone into this guy and trying to make him playable. Initially, the deck started off as a kind of a soldier deck, enlistment officer, field marshal, basically all those soldier cards out there that kind of work together, Darter war chief, stuff like that. The problem was those cards are just way too expensive, and mono white just struggles to keep up with the pace of the game because it can't ramp fast enough. It can't draw cards. So basically, you're just sitting with those cards as your opponents just kind of just ramp up like crazy, and you're just left in the dust. Version 2 was just a total pile we won't even talk about, and now we were on to version 3, where we're really just working on his ability there of taking damage and putting soldier tokens into play. So he's a 6 casting cost on a 3/3 body, obviously very expensive, and part of the problem with him is once you get him out, no one attacks you unless they can kill you outright. So you really have to find creative ways of using his ability of taking damage and getting as much soldier tokens into play as possible. So let's kind of talk about what we want to do here. Initial package we're going to talk about is my non-basic package. We run 10 non-basic lands here, the first being City of Brass, dealing 1 damage to you. Now you're saying, why do we need City of Brass in a mono-white deck? Well, because it deals damage, and that's putting tokens into play. Same with Grand Coliseum here, we're taking 1 damage. Tarnished Citadel, this is an MVP. You're tapping for 1 mana, and you're taking 3 damage. Doesn't matter that's white mana, but that's big money right there for Darien. Nomad Stadium, so I'm going to draw this card quite a bit, but yeah, deals 1 damage to you. Ancient Tomb, if I draw an Expedition map, I'm either getting Ancient Tomb or Tarnished Citadel, simply because if I'm having trouble with ramping, or it looks like I'm kind of gotten mana screwed, Tomb's probably a better choice just because it gives you 2 mana and deals 2 damage. If mana is not a problem, we're going with the Citadel. And then Terrain Generator with stuff like Land Tax and Tithe. This is a pretty good one as well to get a lot of land into play. And then I have a few other just other stuff that I threw into the deck here. And then I have about 28 non-basics here. I'm sorry, basics that I run in the deck, basic planes. Obviously with Land Tax and stuff like that and Tithe. Next package we're going to talk about here, in every deck, ramp. Problem with mono white is it really struggles with ramp. I mean, you have some spells that give you planes, but they don't necessarily put stuff into play quicker. So we're going to go with the 0 casting cost stuff. This is a great card in this deck because, again, you're taking 3 damage if you miss the coin flip, and that's three soldiers into play. So this card is absolutely critical. I'm running all my best stuff in this deck now. I moved it all out of other decks, and I'm giving Big D here the golden treatment. So we have Mana Crypt, Lotus Bloom, Opal. So I'm running 21 ramp spells. 21. So a good hand would be to draw 2 of these and then have Darien out by turn 2 or turn 3. Mana Vault, great card in this deck simply because you take damage from it. Expedition Map, we already talked about that. Tithe. Enlightened Tutor. I have it in my ramp package. This thing is getting Mana Crypt every time, or Soul Ring, or one of the Moxes maybe. I don't know. Weathered Wayfarer, awesome card because it can fetch up any land. So you can get the Citadel, you can get Ancient Tomb. Land Tax, we talked about that one already. Grim Monolith, Mindstone, and then we get into some kind of janky ramp stuff, and then Thran Dynamo and Gilded Lotus. Because we're running so many artifacts, I actually have a creature, Argivian Archaeologist. He's one of my favorite guys from the old school. He helps bring back stuff like Pilgrim's Eye, anything that gets blown up on the battlefield. I'm running him in this deck as well. So In this package, what we want to do here is essentially take damage. I know it just seems kind of stupid, but it's actually really what the best way this deck has worked. Starting off with Jinx Choker here, this thing got up to 15 counters on it in a game last week. We had some guys playing Vorl, or whatever his name is. They were doubling the counters on it. I got it up to 15 counters and almost won the game with this card, so very good stuff. Dingus Staff, we're taking damage when creatures go to the graveyard. This guy's amazing. He's 2 casting costs, you're taking 2 damage a turn. You never pass it. You just take 2 damage a turn and just create 2 creatures a turn. Torture Chamber, another good one here. It's kind of like Assemble Allegiance for Darien. Pretty amazing. Jade Monolith, now we're kind of getting into the package where we talk about redirecting damage to yourself. Jade Monolith does this great. It's actually one of the old school cards that you're just, in a multiplayer game, someone hits a creature, you can redirect it all to yourself. Same with Blood of the Martyr here. Not only amazing art from Mr. Chris Rush here, but another card similar where you can redirect damage to yourself. Same with Civi's Valor. And then we kind of get into the stuff that you're just putting tokens into play, soldier tokens. I pulled this Elspeth, this beauty, out of a Modern Masters pack the other day, so good stuff. And then we're just putting tokens into play with Mobilization, Increasing Devotion, and Conqueror's Pledge. Next package I'm going to talk about here is my buff package. Love Jihad, old school, still very good. You're almost pretty sure that someone at the table is going to be playing a 1 or 2 color deck, and they'll have a lot of permanents out, and you can just give your creatures +2/+1. Glorious Anthem, great because it's creatures you control. Leyline of the Meek, great card for this deck. Honor the Pure, great because it's creatures you control. Shared Triumph, we're just giving +1/+2. I'm sorry, +1 or +2/+2. Divine Sacrament, Crescendo War. This thing can get totally out of hand quickly. My friend runs an Elish Norn deck and got this thing loose, and it just messed some people up. So very good stuff. And then this is an MVP of the deck. It's actually a new addition. Haven't got it going quite yet, but as you can see there, if you're putting 1 token into play or 2 tokens into play, those guys are just getting infinitely more powerful. So not infinitely, but more powerful. Coat of Arms. We all know what that one does. The next package I'm going to talk about here is my creature package. I'm just running some guys. This is kind of similar to that enchantment we just saw, but it's until end of turn. Requiem Angel, Breacher, kind of out of theme here, but this guy, he's cool because he's got cool art and he's old school, but he's always been a factor in every game I played. It seems like someone gets their commander out early and I get Breacher out, and it's a bit problematic for them. They're doing stuff to deal with him. Archaeologist, I run some cool artifacts in this deck, a lot of ramp. Someone blows up the board and I draw this guy later. I can get back into it pretty quick, and I have some sacrificial artifacts as well that he can dig back up, so we'll get more into that. Ranger Vios, basically one of the only white creature tutors out there, and it gets these 2 guys right here. Soul Ward in particular is good because you're taking damage from the stuff that we do with Darien, and when you're putting creatures into play, you're basically not losing any life there, so good stuff. And then we go to our card draw package. I have 1:20 left. Mono White's card draw is absolutely atrocious, to be quite honest. It's a state. We're using Martyr's Cry, Mentor of the Meek, Memory Jar, Skull Clamp, and Tower of Power. This thing is nuts if you can get it going. A minute left. Next package we're going to talk about here is a utility package. We're sacrificing artifacts, drawing cards, or spot removal, more removal, more removal. Swords and Path, 2 awesome removal spells. That's what Mono White's got, man. They got amazing stuff. My play group, got to hand it to them. They all grew up with this card. They all love it. So we allow it in our play group, and it combos with Arcavian Archaeologist, and it's just capital fun right there. And then Oblation, and last but not least, a Sword of the Ages. So when you get all those creatures and you want to end somebody else, you just whack them with the sword. So that is our Darien deck, finished with about 15 seconds, so let me know what you guys think. It's actually one of my most fun decks, nothing like putting a ton of creatures in play and everybody's afraid to attack you. It's good times. So, all right, thanks. You guys have a good night.